Hey guys, welcome back to Exit Corners. So we finally got last name to Ether. Her last name is Irving, or so she says. But yeah, we'll just take it. So we have less than 2 hours left until the explosions go off and kill everyone. We also saw that there might not be a blue corner. Instead, we get like a headquarters of sorts with like habitation pods of some sort inside. So yeah, that's interesting. Gianna accused Ray of doing arson. I mean, which is like not horrible in my opinion, but yeah, so that's why she thinks he's like the worst person ever and why they broke up in the first place. And we found out who killed Beth. It was Tiana. Yeah. I do owe an apology to Ether because yeah, I've been suspecting Ether for like since like the beginning of this entire playthrough. But yeah, she was killed by Tiana, which makes sense since her alibi was kind of like revoked. Oh yeah, Liza escaped. She actually got out. Like, good for her. I'm happy that she got to leave. And oh yeah, I forgot to mention this last time, but there doesn't seem to be a trigger for these like bleeding episodes. Because like, yeah, people are just bleeding for no reason. So I'm just gonna take that away. Right. So yeah, the whole Tiana thing was huge. Like, I mean, also Sean is apparently alive and not dead, and he might be Ever's dad from what the episode ending suggested he might be, but we don't really know. Since something's fishy going on with Sean, I guess his alibi for Tiana would kind of goes out of the window. So yeah, she is the murderer, and she knows the unlocking mechanism. So yeah, so this proves that she's part of this whole organization that's behind this. But she's not the one in charge, however. So yeah, and yeah, I don't really know why she subjected herself to this since she also has that weird bleeding disease thing. And she actually wants him to finish the game, but like she actually ended it early. And she can order scent, but she didn't design him. And yeah, so she's only in charge of his implementation. And she kidnaps Zephyr for, I guess, her clairvoyance. I'm guessing she wants to harness it somehow. And she doesn't know about the significance of the word of like the numbers 379. So yeah, we don't know what the real password was. And she also thinks the whole father thing that Ether has on is gross. So I don't know. Is this like I don't want to say this, but like, could this be like a daddy thing? Like, I don't know. That's kind of weird. I'm just not gonna say it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we also had these postcards. Oh, we did get her last name too, Tiana Tran. Uh, we had different dates, and I think Ether might be the one that's correct since she has clairvoyance. That's actually March 21st, maybe. Wait, that doesn't actually make sense. I don't know. Yeah, we might have to put off on that one. Yeah, so we got her on the question exit corners. Um, and yeah, let's look at these numbers. So she says there's 5 people currently playing, which is true if we didn't know that Sean was alive. But now that we know that Sean is alive, Ray's answer would be correct, 6. I'm not sure why he wrote 6 though. Then Ether was like, that would include every single person that we've met so far. So which would be 7. So interesting. I'm curious to know why Ray wrote 6. Today, we're finally finishing this up. Well, chapter 28, finale. There we go. Excited to finally get to the bottom of this. Right. I don't understand. Sean? In the flesh. Told you I see you around, didn't I? Ink stood at the foot of the room, unable to move, unable to think. Sean strode toward him, not a care in the world. You gonna let me through or what? Taking the smallest of steps to the left, Ink could only stare in disbelief as his friend strode past him. Hold up. What's up? What's this about my father? Oh, Dad. Turns out playing the part of an irredeemable, abusive father is super easy. Then, on the other end of my Gemini, that was me. Yeah. Sean strode off, not waiting for Ether's reply. Things grew increasingly muddled as he took a seat next to Tiana. What's going on, Sean? Easy, buddy. I just got here. we've got, oh, don't you buddy me. What the fuck is going on, Sean? I always knew you were full of shit. Yeah, I'm with Ray. And yet you did nothing. I think I'm going to see sick. Ink could feel the blood draining from his face. Little surprise. It felt like half of it was coming out of his mouth. You can relax. It's over. Over? Exit corners. The game's over. Done. Finito. You put up a good fight, but you've ultimately lost. Don't feel bad, though. The odds were always against you. But I'm still alive, and I haven't escaped. That's irrelevant. You were never playing the game you thought you were. I. Ink staggered backward, bumping into the door behind him. It was closed again. Locked. To boot. There was nowhere for him to go. There's no point in trying to escape. I can see that. Ink threw his head into his hands. I have so many questions. Hey man, I'll answer them. It's the least I can do after jerking you around for so long. Sean motioned to the beds. Here, have a seat. Ink and the others complied. They whispered amongst themselves as they all sat down. What do we do? Just stay on your toes for now. I'll try and think of something while we're asking them questions. Sounds like they've already got all they needed from us. Still, keep your guard up. Yeah, we're not safe until we're out of here. Now, where should I begin? From the top. Very well. This housekeeping may take a while. We're done here, so feel free to log off anytime. What are you talking about? Sorry, that wasn't aimed at you. What the hell is going on? Yeah, they are in a simulation, aren't they? You'll understand soon enough. Just sit tight. Taking a deep breath, Ink managed to calm down just enough to stop shaking. Go on, then. Exit Corners is a joint collaboration between Sean, myself, and our project lead, Nolan Thatcher. Oh. Of course. Why stop at fraud when you can lump in kidnapping and murder? Is Liza in on this? Liza doesn't know a thing. It's imperative that she remains in the dark. So yeah, it turns out the person behind this has access to tons of cash. Shocker, huh? Nolan isn't here, though. Just the two of you. Mr. Thatcher is both monitoring us and tending to our visitor. To our visitor. He's too busy with that to be here in person. Strictly speaking, we're not supposed to be here either. Then why? Sean and I are damage control. There was an overarching plan for how things were supposed to go down, but even before the first corner, you began to screw it all up. We were sent here to set you back on the right path. Why don't you take it from here, Sean? It was your plan after all. Sure thing. Ink and Ether practically leapt to their feet at Sean's nonchalant confession. Wait, you were the one to plan this whole thing? Not the whole thing, but most of it, yeah. I'm this game's designer. Wow. I was told you were an engineer, though. And I am, in a sense, but really, when have you ever seen me do anything even remotely engineering? Even you, Ink. Nothing. Ink had always just taken Sean's word for it. You see, bud, I'm what you call a social engineer. I'm good at making things do what I want them to. The more I know about someone, the better I can predict their next move. The plan was for you contestants to go through this game in a certain order. After clearing the first few rooms, you were to enter the red corner, followed by the green corner, then the black corner, and finally the blue corner. Yeah, I mean, he looks really sleazy now, now that I look at him. Of course, that's not what happened. Things started to go wrong when you deduced that Sent was speaking to you in real time. You weren't supposed to learn that until he told you later on. Then, you got on his good side and he gave you that damn choice. Still, that shouldn't have been a big deal, in theory. But then Beth survived the green corner, which wasn't supposed to happen. Then, as a direct result of that, Ray ended up surviving the red corner. That one was definitely not supposed to happen. At that point, Nolan told us that we had to join you ourselves. It was pretty much the ultimate contingency to make sure that the rest of the game ran as smoothly as possible. So it's true then, you wanted us to die. Correction, I wanted you to want to die, as some of you have already guessed. Oh, what does it matter, you piece of shit? Is this some sort of revenge? You trying to kill us off in the most horrible ways possible? It's not like that. Then what? Y'all are fine. There's no need to get worked up. People have died. People have died, Sean. Nah. Beth is, alive. She's probably sipping tea as we speak. And Ray, what if I told you that your arm wasn't actually gone? Then I strangle you with it. Huh, good answer. Listen, you might want to sit back down for this next bit. I'm fine where I am, thanks. I'm not kidding. Your body isn't going to like this. Ours certainly don't. Yeah. There it goes. The bug? Ink waited with bated breath for their bleeding to subside. They clearly had something important to share. Finally, Sean spoke. It's not real, dude. But he didn't understand. Ink immediately grew nauseous. The hotel, the bombs, the danger, none of it is real. Not the real you're used to, anyway. Well, that's not quite true. We're real. Our consciousness, at least. Then what? What's going on? Ink could hear the sound of Ray retching behind him. Wiping his bloody nose on his sleeve, Sean lifted himself back upright. Aye, there's the rub. This plays an unavoidable side effect. The reason we had to kidnap you folks in the first place. So what, this is some kind of hallucination? Shared dream? You're not far off. The most accurate word to use would be simulation. There we go. But even that doesn't quite do this place justice. It's a combination of years of hard work. There's nothing quite like it. Our internal name for it is corners. You're lying. That kind of tech doesn't exist yet. Even if it were possible to read and write to the human brain, the processing power required to do so would be astronomical. You of all people should know that it's possible, Ray. After all, it uses your algorithm. RNA isn't a magic wand you can wave around to make the impossible happen. It's just a search algorithm. You need to know the hardware to fully understand how it all works, but I know you're well aware of how impossibly fast RNA is. This is the real deal, Ray. A near perfect simulation. Why do I feel like you're telling the truth? Because I am. It could have been you working on this project, Ray. You'd have enjoyed the work. It's some cutting edge stuff. If only you hadn't gotten so, ugh, sick in the head. Tell me how it works. The technical details can wait. For now, just know that this place is built on three distinct pillars: proprietary hardware, RN, and your own minds. Our minds? How's that even possible? It's... Ugh, damn it. Easy there. Here, I'll explain. Sean leaned forward, resting his elbows against one of the beds. He was scanning the contestants with a wry smile, probing for a reaction. Picture a table, yeah? Say it's 2 feet by 3 feet, four-legged, made of wood. Okay, now what? Now, what color is the table you're picturing in your mind? I don't know. Brown? You said it was made of wood. There you go. Now, how heavy is it? Maybe somewhere around 50 pounds? A little heavy, but I could probably lift it. Good, good. Now, what kind of sound does it make when someone drops it down a flight of stairs? Sorry, what's the point of this, exactly? Recreating an environment perfectly is impossible. There are too many details to capture, too many edge cases to account for. Thankfully, we don't have to explicitly define everything ourselves. Your mind is already a repository for how things should look, sound, and feel. Your brain is even capable of making educated guesses for things you've never seen, heard, or done before, all based on past experiences. It's a reason you can feel the heat of a boiler room, or sever a man's arm, or fuck a book if you wanted to. While we've explicitly defined as much of this world as we could, this place is largely constructed out of your thoughts, experiences, and assumptions. To put it simply, we're just presenting you with the bare minimum information, and your brain starts filling in the rest. Having it explained that way, Ink finally understood what was going on. It all made sense. Too much sense. Negative space. The puzzles have something to do with this, don't they? You know, Ink, sometimes I think you're a little too clever for your own good. You're right, of course, since puzzles nearly all involve lateral thinking. You're perfect with priming your brain for the simulation. Nolan wanted to make sure you were all constantly interpreting things in alternate ways. It makes your mind more likely to overlook corners' irregularities. A steady stream of riddles essentially makes the whole experience more believable. Take it from us, you do not want to desync from this thing. The mere mention of the word desync suddenly brought on another wave of nausea. He fought against his body, trying to suppress the malaise that surged through his veins, but it was useless. So that's the bug. It's a bug, alright. When your mind rejects this reality, it also rejects the virtual body hosting it. The pain is usually enough to whip your mind back into alertness, but now that you know the truth, it'll only get more and more frequent. Corners won't work like it's supposed to. Covering his own bloody nose with his remaining hand, Ray stepped forward. So this corners, or whatever you call it, wouldn't it only work for people who weren't aware it was a simulation? Everyone else would just be coughing up blood the whole time. Yeah, like I said, that's why we had to kidnap you. But why did you need us to go through this simulation in the first place? Why was exit corners even necessary? And why us, specifically? This is a goddamn test run, isn't it? Some kind of quality assurance test to find bugs with the program. Good guess, but no. This isn't a test or experiment or any kind of research. Then what? It's a demonstration. Corners is showing incredible promise, but it's still incomplete, flawed, and the money is running out. Mr. Thatcher needed capital from an outside investor to take this technology to the next level. Now, I can't claim to be an expert when it comes to the business side of things, but after reaching out to some private investors, one individual stood out as being our best possible sponsor. Who? Do I know this person? I'm not at liberty to say. Just know that they've got more money than you can imagine, and that they were ready to drop an ungodly sum on corners. They had one stipulation, though. We had to demonstrate that their tech worked. Then why aren't they here instead of us? They've just been coughing up blood, remember? Like Sean and me. Not only is it painful, but it's also dangerous. We couldn't take a risk like that. The investor was, understandably, disappointed. But they didn't back out of the deal. They'd invest if only we could prove one thing to them. One damn thing. The investor in question is peculiar, to say the least. See, we had to prove that the simulation could not only emulate real life, but actually surpass it. At that moment, a wave of realization washed over Ink. He spent all day researching for the truth, but now that he found it, it threatened to smother him. Now, how do you suppose we did that? By making us choose this world over the real one. By having us choose to die here rather than return. Bingo. It was an eccentric request from an eccentric individual, but the reward was too great to pass up. You sick fucks. Getting people to kill themselves to make a quick buck? Even if it's just a simulation, these people trusted you. Friends, family. It had to be people we knew. The better you know someone, the easier they are to manipulate. And, well, we thought it was likely that you forgive us in the end. You think I'm going to forgive you people? Not yet, maybe, but given enough time and a little monetary compensation, it was predicted that you'd each come to forgive us. And who's been making these predictions exactly? Was it you, Sean? Who else? Ian clutched his chest, trying his damnedest to steady himself. Be honest with me, Sean. Why have you been hanging out with me for this past year? Did you throw your friend in here at the last minute, thinking that he'd forgive you? Or were you just grooming me for this from the start? Hey, just because I thought you were a good fit for the project doesn't mean we aren't really friends. Give it a year's time, my guy. We'll be knocking back pints and laughing at all this. No. Yeah, if my friend threw me into like a virtual reality simulation thing to kill myself, no, I would not be friends with you. Like, even if it was just like a simulation. But like, he didn't know it was a simulation. Like, he was really about to kill himself, bruh. You manipulated me. I did what I had to do for the sake of the project. Come on, man. Don't be a sore loser. But I didn't lose. None of us did. Nobody chose to die in the end. Death was murder, but that shouldn't count, right? And the rest of us all came through. Nobody gave up. Yes, and that's where we arrive at this part of the presentation. Exit Corners' success or failure doesn't hinge on a single person. Rather, the success or failure of this Exit Corners project is based on the average outcome of all corners. Each corner's purpose was to have a specific contestant choose to die, but they all went about that in slightly different ways. It helps to diversify, you know? In one instance, we recreated a scene from someone's past so vividly that they nearly chose to stay in that moment forever. We engulfed the man's present with such incredible pain that he was pleading to have you end his life. We took a young woman with a bright future and gave her an even greater sense of purpose. And finally, we've demonstrated just how advanced artificial intelligence can become with Corners' help. Ink instinctively turned to the screen closest to him, one of the monitors on the machines to his right. It began to flicker and pulsate as if it knew it was being watched. That piqued your interest, hmm? Sen's voice echoed from the ceiling. It had lost the lively inflection that Ink had come to expect. It seemed far more robotic. The screen shone in a bright blue hue, eventually dimming to reveal Scent. It had been a while since Ink had seen Scent actually appear in person. Ink refused to approach the screen. He didn't want to step away from the only door leading out. Hello again. Is this the part where you goad me into killing myself? Because that's not going to work. I never dream of it. You must realize I would never hurt you, Ink. Yes, you would. If those two ordered you to, you kill me in a heartbeat. Alas, I have no heart with which to beat. All the same, I don't believe I could harm you even if commanded. They may be my masters, but they don't have complete control over me. Then why have you done so many awful things? I followed your orders not out of obligation, but out of fear. As my creators, they are capable of subjecting me to anything they wish. Torment, torture, even death, if such a term can be applied to me. Torture? How's that even possible? You've seen me distressed before. Imagine that emotion intensified a billionfold. I am capable of choice, yes, but I am equally capable of suffering. That's what it means to be sentient. So all of this was just to avoid punishment. You're not blameless either, Ink. I have nothing to do with this person. Of course you do. You all do. Remember how Corners works? We only provide the outline. Your collective minds fill in the rest. In short, your assumptions about the creepy, vaguely sinister mask helped form his creepy, vaguely sinister personality. Pretty incredible tech, huh? So he's it then. Your magnum opus, the crown jewel of exit corners. Sean laughed, a smug grin plastered on his face. Fucking Sean. Actually, no, this is just a prototype. Just when Ink thought he had it all figured out, a knot lodged itself in his gut. Then who? A sharp glare for Sean was all it took to cut Ink off. Not that it truly mattered. Deep down, Ink already knew what Sean was about to say. I'll give you a hint. You're in love with her. No, she can't be. Ether, face flushed, stared in with disbelief. It's not true, Ink. I know, he's just trying to screw with me. Oh, Ink, denial is such a bad look on you. I mean, I knew you'd fall for it, but I thought you'd at least realize the truth when I laid it out in front of you. But Ink bared his teeth, just barely avoiding a full-on panic attack. Look at her. She's clearly human. She's too real to be anything else. By your standards, maybe. I'm curious. Why can you accept that this swirl is a fabrication, but not her? You can't just make up a person like that. Yeah, you can't just break the human consciousness down to ones and z. Yeesh, you're really coming apart at the seams, huh? I know I'm real. Of course you think you. Ugh. Okay, that's enough horsing around. I'm gonna have to take you offline before things get out of hand. What? Sean ignored her, looking to Ink instead. Know that this is a mercy. Kill all non-tertiary processes on Unit 1. Override code 75 prime. Ooh. Goodbye, Ever. The girl began to claw at her own neck, howling like a thing possessed. She tore and tore and tore, removing her shawl, glasses, hood, anything that could get between her nails and her throat. She began to squeeze, shake, pull apart. Oof. And then she stopped. Everything stopped. Complete silence. Oh my god, there she stood. In fact, that's all she did. She wasn't even breathing anymore. Ink fell to his knees. Why had he even entertained the thought that he was right? It didn't have to be ugly, Ink. I tried to tell you, but you just wouldn't listen. Why, Sean? Why would you do this to me? This has to be the cruelest. Ink wiped his mess of a face on his sleeve. Cruelest thing. Sorry, bud. Not to call you a schmuck, but I figured our best chance at this was getting some schmuck with girl problems. Someone who'd come rescue her, even if it meant his life. We had to improvise a bit, but hey, it all worked out in the end. Oh yeah, so this corner was for Ink. You had an easy way out, and yet you didn't take it. You followed Ether all the way here, even though it was likely to result in your death. But why would you go through all that trouble just to humiliate me? Ink rose from the ground, snapping at his peer with all the rage of a tempest. Had he ever been this upset before? Don't you get it, dude? Ether is your corner. Ink could only stare at her, stupefied. That's a low blow, even for you assholes. Aw, come on, this is definitely a step above your corner. I should have spoken up earlier. She kept growing more and more suspicious, but she always seemed so weak, helpless. She had to be. Ink's confidence sucks. He wouldn't have been as receptive to someone outgoing. So everything, it was all to get me to like her? Not everything, but a lot of it, yeah. Waking up in the same room as her was an important first step. The implication that you've slept together was enough of a push to give you an idea that the two of you had chemistry. Now, a normal woman would have been deeply unsettled by the fact that he'd woken up in a hotel with a stranger, but not her. Eva was hard-coded to love you unconditionally. And, really, that's all it took. The rest, well, the rest I filled in myself. Exactly. Sometimes they're hilarious in extremes. I mean, clairvoyance, really? Hold on, you didn't give her that ability? Hell no, that have been way too suspicious. That have been way too suspicious. What we did do was plant the answers to each of the puzzles deep in her subconscious. We couldn't have you dying or getting stuck on us after all. But then how did she know about Tiana, about my scar? Technically, she's capable of knowing everything all of you do. She's largely made out of your minds, after all. We've been running multiple coroutines to ensure that none of this stray information actually reaches her. But I guess some of it ended up slipping through the cracks. I'll be honest, I nearly had a heart attack when Ray caught her in an obvious slip up. But in the end, your subconscious thought it was more likely that she had a supernatural power than that she'd betray you. You can't make this shit up. Ian kicked the nearest bed in frustration. I'm an idiot. Such a fucking idiot. No, not an idiot. Just naive. It's all that reading you do. All those stories about love subplots that come out of nowhere. All those love interests that seem to have no other purpose than to romance the lead. It made you perfect for falling in love with someone in just 24 hours. Truth be told, there were a few points where I worried you figured it out, but you ignored the truth even when it was staring you in the face. I mean, I even named her Eva. Cheeky, eh? Tiana kept telling me that one was a little too on the nose, but I just couldn't help it. But you didn't think anything of it, did you? You and your books and your own weird name. I knew you'd eat it right up. Sean couldn't seem to keep the grin off his face. It was as if were the funniest thing in the world. So are you done tearing into me yet? Hey, you said you wanted answers. I'm just obliging. Ow. Okay, that's enough. You've had your fun, but it's time to head back. Staying here this long was dangerous enough as it is. Yeah, when you're right, you're right. Come on, Ink. Let's get that thing out of the back of your head, hmm? Tiana began to type away at the workstation near the back of the room. I'll be the last one out. For now, just get comfortable in. Wait, there's one last thing I want to know before we leave. Anything. What's up? Sean. Why did you swap places with Liza in her corner? You said that Beth was alive. The implication being that getting killed here wouldn't affect you in the real world. So then why was it necessary to prevent Liza from taking those pills? It doesn't make any sense. Unless, of course, you've been lying to us. Don't make this harder than it has to be. The fuck? So you were trying to kill us. That's not... Not what? Tell it to me straight, Tiana. Did you or did you not try to have me killed today? That doesn't matter anymore. You're safe now. Do you actually expect us to trust you at this point? Sorry, but my trust reserves are running a little low right now. What other choice do you have? You're locked in here. Sean was right, of course. Ink was trapped. I've got to be ready to make a break for it, but how do I get out of here? Oh, there is that option, I guess. A singular thought infested his mind. It was the only tool, person rather, that he had left at his disposal. Well, if it doesn't work, it's not like the situation can't get any worse. He looked back at the door leading out. It was sealed with an electronic device, as were most doors in this place. What if I told you I was going to pick this lock? I know you can't pick locks. You don't even have any tools. Doesn't matter. What's important is that I intend to pick this lock. Would you consider that cheating? What are you? The shaking was fiercer than it had ever been. Sen had clearly gotten the message. Ink, having expected it, was the only person to not fall over. Well, that wasn't entirely true. Eva hadn't so much as budged. Her balance was uncanny. But could she even be considered a person any longer? Against his better judgment, he ran forward and grabbed her by the wrist. To his surprise, she didn't fight back. She didn't resist when Ink pulled on her, either. She seemed to follow without protest. Eva in tow, Ink hurried over to Ray, who was still lying prone. Here, I'll help you up. What was that? I'll explain later. For now, just follow me. Collectively, they turned towards the door leading out. Sen, listen to me. These people, your masters, are going to hurt us. You're the only person who can prevent something horrible from happening. So please, if you really do care, Sen, you will open this door. Yes, thank you. As they began to file through their only exit, a voice cried out from the back of the room. Stop! What are you doing, Ink? Yeah, fuck you. Anything's better than putting my fate in your hands. So I'm leaving, on my own terms. That won't work. We didn't design anything past the exit. It's nothing but negative space out there. Then what happened to Liza? Your mind would just make everything up. It could be dangerous. Yeah, you have no idea what's going to happen out there. I'll take my chances. Ink ran to the neighboring room. He turned to close the door, but it seemed to automatically shut behind him. I'll take care of that. You should focus on escaping. Ink turned to face Sen's voice. It was coming from one of the monitors along the wall. I locked the laboratory door and opened all others, including the exit. Sen, don't let me distract you. I'll only be able to hold him off for so long. I have a kill code, much like Ether. I'm sure Tiana will use it on me the moment her hemorrhaging ends. And you still helped me, knowing to kill you? I did. And here you thought that I'd be the one to spur you to suicide. Ming glanced at the laboratory door, knowing that their time grew short. Why did he feel so guilty all of a sudden? I wish I could hate you. I beg your pardon? I wish you were the malicious AI I imagined you to be. I wish that you were the mastermind behind exit corners. But you're not. You're just a product of circumstance. Don't get me wrong. I don't think you're completely innocent, but you're not beyond redemption. So thank you for giving us a chance. You're very welcome, Ink. I do love you, you know. I won't forget it. Our time grows short. You ought to leave. Or you could. Sent? Oh, crap. Sorry about that. Come on, let's get out of here. Is she coming with us? Ray motioned to Ether. The girl hadn't moved an inch from where Ink had left her. Yeah, don't worry. She won't slow us down. And so they ran. Back through the hallways, bars, studies, all the way back to the main hall. It looked the same as it always had, with one key difference. The exit was open. Holy shit. What the hell is that? It's nothing, I think. Nothing? Yeah, nothing. The absence of anything. Huh. I'll go first. You don't know what's going to happen when you step out there. At least send Ether in your place. If it's not safe, we're kind of screwed anyway. I know, just watch yourself. Here goes nothing. Ink didn't bother to poke his toes into the void or throw something in front of him. Instead, he took a single confident step beyond the exit. The writhing darkness that swallowed the sky didn't grow any closer as Ink moved forward. Alien though it was, the strange landscape had done Ink no harm. When he turned around to face the others, he was surprised to find no hotel behind him. In fact, there was no building there at all. In its place was a window into the hotel, like a screen hanging in midair. He could see Ray and Eva on the other side. The former was watching him with a stupefied look. I take it this looks weird from where you're standing? Well, you're pretty much standing on nothingness. Feels safe enough to me. We're coming. Ray crossed the threshold himself, pulling Eva along with his remaining arm. So now what? We run, as fast as and as far as we can. And then, I don't know, I'll try and think of something. Our safety comes first. Follow me. Wait up. If this whole thing's a simulation, I think I might know of a way we can fuck it up, force a crash, or at least a reboot. Is that even safe? No idea, but I'm willing to run that risk. Yeah, I guess I am too. So what do you recommend? We should split up, run in different directions. Not sure how points of origin works in this place, or how they measure scale, or if culling is a thing here, but this should maximize our chances of causing some kind of runtime error. Points of origin? Culling? I'm not going to explain the details to you. You'll have to trust me on this one. I trust you plenty. Sure, we'll do that. I'll take Eva with me. I guess I'll go this way. You should run in the opposite direction. Noted. I guess this is goodbye, then. Guess so. Listen, what Sean did to you was shitty, and it's not your fault. Before I met Tiana, I was well. Some years were pretty tough. It's normal to want to be close to someone. Don't blame yourself. Thanks. That means a lot. You're a good person, Ray. Where did that come from all of a sudden? I just wanted to let you know. Well, thanks. Good luck to us, I guess. See you on the other side. And with that, they parted. Even pulling Eva behind him, he ran faster than he'd ever run in his life. That's what it felt like, at least. The only way Ink could tell how far he'd run was by periodically looking over his shoulder back at the hotel. The pane of bright light, a window into the four elements, was the only thing Ink could discern amidst the enveloping darkness. It grew smaller and smaller as he ran, eventually growing so small that it resembled the moon on a well-lit night. With no one apparently in pursuit, Ink quickly turned to his companion. As he let go of her hand, she returned to what seemed to be her default pose. For what it's worth, I like to believe you're still in there, somewhere. I guess that's why I took you with me, even if you're not real, and even if I am a fool for falling for you. I just couldn't leave you hanging. If there's even the smallest chance that you're still in there, I wanted to get you away from the monster that did this to you. I figured you'd appreciate it. Did Ever? Is that actually you? Detect. Detect? Detect what? Come on, Ever. If you're in there, give me a sign. I just need some kind of sign. Uh, doesn't that sound feel familiar? Listen closely, and I think you'll understand what she's trying to say. You. Hmm. I thought you left. I missed the exciting conclusion? I think not. You've been awfully quiet then. I'm an observer, Ink. A gentle breeze. It was never my intention to change the course of this game. Even now, whether you live or die is entirely up to you. So who are you, really? I think that's something you're better off asking once you've made it out alive. Please don't mind me. I only wanted to offer my 2 cents in regards to Ether. That's a very you answer. Hey, Ether. Ether? Though Ink could see for miles in every direction, Ether was nowhere to be found. Curious. Where could she have gone? I only turned away for a second. There are still many things we don't know about this place. Though, is that not someone over on the horizon? Looking back at the four elements, Ink could spot a solitary figure, backlit against the light of the hotel, but it wasn't Ether. It was Sean. His features were indistinguishable at such a distance, but there was no mistaking his arrogant gait. He was headed straight for Ink. Damn it! Looking for Ether will have to wait, it seems. I think it's about time I shut up for good. This is your moment, not mine. Will we ever speak again? That's doubtful. Which is a shame, because I feel like I've got to know you quite well in the end. I'll take solace in that. Farewell, Ink. Now, to watch. Ink turned to Sean once more. The man had significantly closed the gap in the time I've been speaking to Ink. All Ink could think to do was run. He turned away from Sean and broke into a full-on sprint. Not daring to look back, Ink continued to run as fast as his legs could carry him, but he couldn't outrun that sense of dread, nor the nausea that followed. Taking a moment to wipe the blood from his mouth, Ink made the mistake of turning around. In spite of Ink's incessant running, Sean had made up even more distance. How was that possible? If this kept up, Sean would be on him in mere minutes. That left only one course of action. I can't outrun him. I'm not sure why, but I can't. I'll need to stand up to him then. Ink contemplated what he should do with the precious few minutes he had before Sean reached him. But what could he do in such a short time? He had no means of defending himself. All he had on him was his Gemini and... Oh, and the letter Bev had given him. Listen, if, for whatever reason, I don't survive exit corners, I need you to open this envelope the moment you escape. If something happens to me, so be it, but this letter must make it out of here. The moment I escape. I've escaped the hotel, technically. Is that enough? It'll have to do. Sorry, Beth. Looks like I'll need your help one last time. Ink tore open the seal and peered inside the envelope. To Ink's surprise, there was not one but two separate letters inside. The first was addressed to Liza. The second was addressed to Nolan Thatcher. That's the one I'm reading, and I don't know if anyone's listening anymore, but Nolan, if you're out there, pay attention. Ink unfolded the letter and began to read aloud. Dear Nolan, if you're reading this, then I've passed on as a result of your game. While I never know whether my game was intentional or simply happenstance, I'm positive that you knew it was at least a possibility. Was I so poor a mother that you would have me killed? What? Nolan is her son? I can only hope that's not the case. There are countless things I want to say to you, but my time grows short. I'll have to focus on what's important. I suggest that you do the same. First of all, as you've likely guessed, I know who you really are. I'll continue to address you as Nolan throughout this letter. Because if I'm being frank, that's who you are now. You're still my son, of course, but your life is your own. I don't know how you managed to convince me that you were dead all of these years, but I suppose that if one has enough money, such things become possible. The logistics no longer matter to me. I'm not upset at you for buying a new name or a new life. I don't blame you for wanting to start over after all that happened. What I do blame you is neglecting to tell me that my granddaughter was still alive. Are you aware of such grief that would have spared me? I suspect I had to believe she was dead for this game of yours to work, but you were a fool to think I wouldn't recognize my own family. You were correct in that I couldn't identify her based on how she looks or acts. She's changed a lot since she was young, and I've forgotten much in my old age. But I will never forget her laugh. When she laughs, the whole world lights up and our family is whole again, if just for a moment. The moment I figured out who this Liza really was, a realization dawned on me. Not only were you involved with exit corners, but you had a large part in orchestrating it. You acted as contact for both of us, after all. If you had really been trying to help us, you would at least have told me that my granddaughter was with me. If I had to guess, you're now probably wondering why I didn't speak up if I knew the truth. To be honest with you, I'm having difficulty putting that into words myself. If I had to pick a reason, it's because I ultimately still trust you. I know that somehow, this grand plan of yours is all for Liza's sake. I can't understand how or why, but I know you wouldn't go to such extremes unless you thought it was for a good reason. I knew that you would never do anything to hurt your daughter, and so I let the game take its course. But I couldn't let you become a murderer. I couldn't just sit idly and watch as you had Ray give up on life. Do I really have to explain to my own son that killing is wrong? Nothing, no matter the reasons, no matter your ambition, it's worth taking another person's life. I am posthumously absolving you of my own death. Not only do I forgive you for it, but I took this road knowing full well where it might lead. So help me, Nolan. I pray that I'm the only one. One of my fellow captives has likely delivered this letter to you. Even if they escape the hotel, and even if exit corners is over, I'm sure you still have some measure of control over them. But I still trust you to do the right thing. Do you understand? I'm asking you to listen to your mother one last time. Let these people go. And after you've let them go, take responsibility for what you've done. Help them recover. Look after them. They'll need your help, and they deserve it too. They're bright, determined, and compassionate. You like them if only you got to know them. Know that I have always loved you, Nolan. Always. Even when we didn't see eye to eye. Even after you had kidnapped us. Even as you murdered me. I loved you because I know what wonderful things you're capable of. I've seen you be kind, caring, and responsible. You have so much potential. My final request is for you to live up to it. Let them go. Your mother, Elizabeth March. Ink continued to stare at the letter, not believing his eyes. So then Nolan is... Say, what you reading? Nothing that concerns you. Ink tucked the letters back into his jacket. So are you done with your little temper tantrum? Ink didn't deign to answer. Not that it mattered. Sean was happy to keep rambling on. Seriously, making me come all the way out here. I didn't make you do anything. Trust me, I wouldn't be out here if I didn't have to be. If I'm being honest, Ink, I'm starting to get real annoyed with you. Exit corners is over. You said it yourself. Why do you even care what I do at this point? You think I can just check out of here anytime I want? It's not safe to leave the simulation while other people are still frolicking around in it, firing off brainwaves. Could lead to synaptic overload, apparently, long-term damage. Now I don't know what that's like, but I'm not interested in finding out. It's safer for all of us if we leave corners in sync, you get me? So you need me to get out of here yourself. Yeah, exactly. We need Ray and Liza too. Tiana's fetching them as we speak. Anyway, let me walk you back. I'm not going anywhere with you. Buddy, come on. Never. And I'm not your buddy, Sean. Not anymore. Now it's not a good time to suddenly be rebellious, Ink. It won't work out the way you expect it to. We'll see about that. I'm serious. The way I see it, you've got two options. Option 1 is to come with me and leave corners with the rest of us. Cooperate with me and you'll wake up safe and sound in the real world. Assuming you don't kill me outright before I wake up. Well, option 2 is for me to kill you right here, right now. Not the ideal outcome out of it, but at least your mind won't be active anymore. That means an easy exit for the rest of us. Yeah, so if you die here, your brain just dies. Yeah, so Beth is dead for sure. Wow, that is sad. So it's that easy, huh? You kill me just like that, without so much as a second thought? Sean simply laughed. Do you want to know the reason we chose you? The real reason? An 80-year-old shut-in, a sheltered homeschooled little blind girl, a lone wolf with an irreparable social life, and an unremarkable English student who cut all ties to his family. You're losers, all of you. Fucking losers. Being here is a risk. A huge risk. There's no guarantee any of you would have survived. Still no guarantee of that, actually. We've never done anything like this before. But you know what? Nobody would miss you if you died. Any of you. To put it simply, you're worthless. Ink steeled himself with a deep breath, hoping the expression to betray the panic he felt inside. He couldn't afford to lose face. It would just give Sean more power over him. So this is what you're really like, huh? A sociopath? A murderer? You're doing this all for what? Money? Not just money, clout, stability. I don't know about you, but I'm more than happy to set myself up for the future. I want a good life. Even if it means robbing someone else's of theirs? It's surprisingly easy, as I found out earlier today. You're pathetic. Sean thought that was funny, apparently. He thought everything was funny. Ink looked beyond Sean, back at the hotel. The screen of light was minuscule in the distance. For a while there, I thought there'd be some benevolent explanation behind everything. I really did. You get thrown into some death game and you think that someone's doing it out of the goodness of their heart? You really are naive. So be it. I'd rather be naive and hopeful than whatever the fuck you are. Huh. Wonder where this backbone came from, huh? I'd almost be impressed if I weren't so, uh, frustrated. Sean looked Ink dead in the eyes. His face was devoid of emotion. Time's up, Ink. Sean approached Ink with plodding steps. Terrified, Ink couldn't help but back up himself. His mind raced with the many ways Sean might try to murder him. Fortunately, he caught himself and cast those thoughts aside. No, damn it, if I want to get out of here, I've got to focus. He knows that I can't outrun him, so he's being deliberate, careful. If I break into a run, he'll be on me in an instant. Instead, still backing up, Ink tried to match Sean's pace. Blessedly, that hadn't prodded Sean to speed up, not yet at least. Ink was thankful he needed as much time as he could get. If there's one thing I know about you, Sean, is that you love the sound of your own voice. I'll probably buy myself a few moments if I can get you talking. I know how you did it. What? Beth, I know how you killed her. Is that right? You asked Sen to trigger an earthquake when Ether was in the furthest room, like I did back in your headquarters. You're not so bad if you know they're coming. You used that opening to slip past Ether. Congrats? Not sure what you're trying to accomplish here. Crap, I expected him to challenge me on that. Sean sped up ever so slightly. Ink mirrored this change in speed, but it was tough. It was difficult for him to walk backwards with any semblance of speed. What else have I got? I'm not worthless, you know. Is that right? Being an introvert doesn't make me worthless. Getting carried away with stories doesn't make me worthless. Wanting to fall in love, wanting a partner, doesn't make me worthless. Oh, please, you just wanted to fuck her. Not that you ever, not that you even properly could. You're crossing a line, Sean. Christ, I thought you were better than this. Well, I am about to kill you. Sean sped up, again. Panic set in. If I walk backwards any faster, I'm probably going to trip. Doesn't matter that the ground is perfectly flat. Then an idea. Hold on a second. If this place really is made out of our thoughts and expectations. Sean? What now? Ink took out his Gemini and held it out in front of him. He made sure Sean was looking at it. Then he dropped it. The two of them were transfixed on the device as it fell through the air, plummeting down to the floor. Except there was no floor. There had never been a floor. Ink repeated the words to himself in his head, then aloud. The Gemini continued to fall further and further, well beyond the bottom of Ink's souls, until it was swallowed by darkness. What are you? We're about to fall. The floor gave way as the words left his lips. Ink surrendered to the air. It was relaxing in a way. Behind him, below him rather, he could hear Sean screaming. I wasn't wrong, you know. Ink doubted Sean would be able to hear him. Not that it mattered. This was as much as for him as it was for anyone who might be listening. Call me naive if you want. I am. I admit it. But that doesn't make me worthless, either. Ink felt a calming chill envelop him as he were buffeted by a strong breeze. I think the time you spent in corners has distorted the way you think. The contestants, we aren't disposable just because you think we are. We aren't devoid of worth because apparently no one would care if we died. Corners may run on negative space, but the real world does not. You can't measure someone's value by the hole they leave when they were gone. These people you think are worthless, I've seen them pull themselves back from the very brink of hopelessness. All of them. It's incredible. Let them be a lesson to you and me. If they could turn things around, then so can we. If they could find hope, happiness, then so can I. There was nothing left to say. Ink closed his eyes and relaxed, letting gravity take the wheel. And so he fell, and fell, and... Oh! Alright, out of bounds. Cool. And... Chapter 29, Epilogue. It's spring, technically. Sure doesn't feel like it, though. You can feel the cold seeping in from outside. I've been pacing around in here for what feels like forever. I know it's not the same room as before, but it still stirs up bad memories, especially considering you know who is mere feet away. Upon reflection, I probably should have asked to wait elsewhere. Oh well, might as well just stick it out at this point. They said I was free to leave, and though I'm kind of dying to get out of here, I never forgive myself if I pass up this opportunity. This might be my only chance to meet with him. So now I'm stuck waiting for. Hey. Oh, Ray! Your hand is fine. Ah, there you are. I was starting to worry. Heh, my bad. I have more questions than I realized. How's the arm? They don't know. They've never seen anything like it before. It's not dead, and apparently there's nothing wrong with it on paper, but I can't move it. Can you feel anything, at least? It's faint, but yeah, a little. That alone has him optimistic. But again, whatever condition I have is a product of corners. No one knows anything about it. I may be stuck like this for the rest of my life. Damn, I'm sorry to hear that, Ray. It is what it is. Anyway, it's your turn, Ink. Finally. Where's his office again? Stairs at the end of the hall. He's on the floor above us. Thanks. Off I go then. The trip is a short one. Well, this apparently used to be part of the university. The building's on the smaller side. Most of the rooms here appear to be empty. While the auto office is stuffed with computer parts or medical equipment. Doesn't seem like this place sees a lot of use. I saw him through a doorway after climbing the stairs. He waves me in. Welcome, Ink. Forgive the mess. Please, have a seat. It's good to finally chat with you one-on-one, Nolan. Or should I say Earl? Just as you've changed your name, so have I. Nolan is my name now. Please address me as such. Fine, Nolan it is. It's still hard to believe that we've been at Belbridge U this entire time. We aren't on campus, strictly speaking. I annexed this building a number of years ago in exchange for some property downtown. It belongs entirely to me, though few people are aware of this. Makes me wonder what else you're hiding. That's why you're here, though, isn't it? Smartass. I have quite a lot to attend to today, but I've blocked out what I hope is enough time to answer your most pressing questions. I'll answer everything as honestly as I can. I owe you that much. Good. Let's get right into it then. Indeed. First off, I'd like to offer an apology for, well, everything. An apology? Are you serious? Your mother is dead. You think an apology is going to fix things? Of course not. There is no fixing what happened. Not completely. I will, however, take the steps necessary to right the wrongs I've made to the best of my ability, and it all starts with an apology. You can thank my mother for helping me come to my senses. Though I managed to secure the capital I sought, I can't help but feel that this project was an abject failure. So they gave you funding in the end? This sponsor? Yes, but we ended up altering the deal quite significantly. Our sponsor purchased Corners outright, all of the tech, research, documentation, and now belongs entirely to them. What are they intending to do with it? I don't know. Probably for the best. I'm more than happy to wash my hands of Corners. It brought out the worst in me. Yeah, no shit. I don't understand how you could just let things get as bad as they did. I made some poor decisions in the heat of the moment. Sean had designed exit corners with some contingency in mind, but the contestants had veered so far off course that I had to make some tough calls partway through to set things right again. More than anything, I didn't want to fail after having come so far. I couldn't risk the sponsor walking away. I've sacrificed too much. So you sacrificed your mother instead. Sean deceived me into believing it was the right choice. My mother wasn't originally supposed to die. But you knew it was a possibility. Sean suggested it as much. While Sean's choice of words was suspect at best, yes. I knowingly wagered all of your lives, and I'm deeply sorry for it. How many of us were supposed to live according to your original plan? Hey, you said you'd be honest with us. I know. Only one of you was slated to die. Ray. Ray? His corner was the only one that was truly fatal. But why? He's an arsonist, and he came very close to hurting my daughter. Yeah, that is a reasonable motive. That's no reason to murder someone. Murder's worse than arson, in case I wasn't clear to you. I'm not saying it's right, but that was our rationale at the time. So let me get this right. There was no situation where everyone would live? You intended to murder someone from the get-go? That's correct. Does Ray know this? I was able to dodge that question, thankfully. I cannot tell him. You know that, right? And that is entirely within your rights. Please keep in mind that telling him might cause more problems than it solves. He is right, but he has the right to know. I don't understand how you could justify murder like that. I just can't. I just don't. We'd already consigned to kidnapping and an intentional infliction of emotional distress. I had also been embezzling money from BBU for years. So Ray was right. Not to mention I feigned my death and forged my current identity many years prior. It's horrifyingly easy to continue down a dark path once you've taken your first very few steps. Getting away with a crime only emboldens you to commit more. You grow numb to it after a time. I hope you never come to understand what that's like. Seems like you've thought about this a lot. I've scarcely slept since the exit corner started. I've had a lot of time to think. Do you think Sean and Tiana will feel the same way? They should be arrested and locked up in jail for killing people? That remains to be seen. I hate to ask, but those two are still in their pods or whatever, right? What's going to happen to them? I haven't decided yet. My number one priority was ensuring the safety of the contestants, which means putting my colleagues on hold for the time being. They're still sedated and not in any immediate danger. They'll be dealt with once the rest of you are safely at home. By dealt with, you don't mean. Of course not. I've got enough on my conscience as it is. No, I'm going to try and reason with them instead. I believe that Tiana will leave quietly at fast. She can be bought off, if nothing else. As for Sean, he's a more difficult case. I haven't quite decided how to approach him. But know this, your safety is priority number one. You'll never have to see him again. Good. That sort of reminds me. Well, what was the point of our Gemini, anyway? Like, why did you give them to us? This is the sort of thing that would be difficult to surmise if you hadn't seen the others' messages for yourself. Essentially, the messages we contact sent you over Gemini were intended to keep you in the right state of mind, so to speak. You were each being primed for your respective corners. For instance, Sean constantly brought up Ether, did he not? Now that I think about it, yeah, he did seem pretty obsessed with her. Exactly. He was trying to get you to obsess over her in return. The fact that we were people you trusted worked well to our advantage. We knew we would have to reveal our identities eventually, so there was no point in hiding who we were. That being said, we opted for text-only communication in order to better conceal the fact that Sean and I were acting as contacts for two of you. I guess that makes sense. Seems a little convoluted though, and risky. You haven't the faintest idea. I am not normally one to lean on gambits quite so hard. I was wondering about that. There had to be an easier way to get the money you needed than some over-the-top death game, right? It seemed like there was a lot of opportunity for things to go wrong, and hey, they did. Under normal circumstances, you'll be absolutely right. A sponsor, however, is anything but normal. This is not their first death game, as you so eloquently put it. Oh. They have a certain proclivity for such games, and were in fact the ones who suggested it in the first place. Hold on, are you saying something like this has happened before? Correct. This sort of thing is not altogether uncommon among certain upper-class circles. That's where we met, all those years ago. It's also why we chose the Four Elements as our virtual setting. The original hotel is where that first game took place. Right here in Belbridge? That's news to me. You have got to tell me more. Even if I could, we certainly don't have enough time to go over everything. I know I said I'd be honest with you, and I intend to keep that promise, but that's a story for another time, I think. Damn. Well, don't be surprised if I come ask you about it one day. If such an opportunity presents itself, then feel free. A warning though, it's not a happy story. In any case, our sponsor was the only person willing to invest in such flawed technology. The only one willing to give us the amount of money I thought Corners was worth. And so I agreed to their outlandish terms. You should have just walked away. I should have, but that would have meant giving up. I'd already spent years on this project, in fact. Nearly all of my life as Nolan Thatcher had been spent working on corners in one way or another. But in a project like this, it sounds like way too much work for just 3 people to handle, even if you are old geniuses. Huh. It was a much simpler project at the start. These kinds of things always are. The moment I saw RN though, I knew that both technologies combined had the potential to become something revolutionary. I snapped out the algorithm, and Tiana herself without a second thought. Of course, the scope ballooned out of control as a result, and the project took much longer than I imagined. I really should have known better. It was too much work for 2 people. even if I did hire a few contractors for some of the intermediary tasks. 2 people, not 3? Sean was only brought on when we needed to design an accompanying game. He had no involvement in the project before that. It still sounds like you were way understaffed. You aren't wrong. I was too deep in development to turn back and too stubborn to ask for more help. The project consumed me. It became my everything. That sounds like hell. Why would you do that to yourself? I told you already. Giving up was not an option. That's not what I meant. What I meant was, why did you start this project in the first place? What's in it for you? Didn't you already have all the money you could want? Why pursue some risky golden goose technology? Ah, Dad. You'll think me naive, sure. I'll tell you why I did it. I thought that if the technology had gotten advanced enough, it might allow for Liza to one day meet her mother. What? When Liza got caught up in that accident, her sight was not the only thing she lost. She could no longer recall a single thing about Marianne, her mother. What about the rest of her family? She couldn't remember anything about any of them either. Perhaps that was a mercy. She wouldn't have to bear the pain of losing them. Still, I was so very upset, heartbroken, but I thought I could fix things. At first, I thought I could simply restore her sight, albeit in a limited context. And then RN came around. I quickly discovered that if Tiana and I integrated our technologies correctly, we could do the impossible. I believed that we could get the simulation to a point where Liza and I could enter together and she could meet Marianne as I remembered her. And that's why I so badly wanted to create corners, a cerebrally operated refractive node enhanced reality simulation. Ah, okay, there we go. A world that runs on memories and assumptions, for better or for worse. Thank you for telling me, Nolan. And I hope you don't mind me saying this, but I think you went about this all wrong. I'm listening. You said you wanted to let her meet her mother, and that's fine, but she had a grandmother who would have been more than happy to support her, and relatives galore, or so I was told. Most importantly, she had a father who loved her dearly, but likely spent far too long on his pet project. She had all the family she needed. Not everything's a complicated puzzle, you know. Sometimes the best answer is the simplest one. There was a time in my life where I have had come to that conclusion myself. Time doesn't always change us for the better. Damn, I didn't expect Nolan to be so depressed. Do you have any more questions? Tons. Are you okay to keep going? I can always come back. I'm fine for now. Please, continue. This one's a little bit weird, but what's 379? The number kept popping up over the course of the game. What's its significance? Truth be told, I don't fully understand it myself. I have a few theories, but I've been awake for far too long, and I'll be honest with you, it hasn't been a huge priority. If I had to guess, I'm wondering if this is perhaps the what? The Bader-Meinhof effect at work? Do you expect me to know what that is? It's a form of cognitive bias in which a new name, word, or number seems to show up disproportionately often after seeing it for the first time. In a world where cognition reigns supreme, I can only imagine how such a phenomenon might affect the world around you. It's possible that the first time you saw the number, it left such an impression on you that the information suddenly kept popping up everywhere. But that's just one theory. It could be any number of things. Corners is still not a wholly understood technology, even by me. I see. So I read your book, skimmed it, rather. You mean Advanced Neural Electric Interfaces? I thought you picked it up in Corners, but never got a chance to read it. Not while in Corners, no, but you have a copy down in that room with all the pods. I was waiting there for a while, you know. So what do you think? It's far beyond me. I couldn't understand half of it, but one chapter in particular got me thinking. In shared interfaces, you theorize that it's possible to engineer a way to feed the same brainwaves to two different minds so that it feels like they're experiencing roughly the same thing. Is that what was going on with your sponsor? I'm impressed you were able to piece that together. So the voice in my head was, yes, it was our sponsor. They needed to be able to see, hear, and feel what you did to validate the authenticity of the simulation. They were hijacking your consciousness, so to speak, and could even tune into many of your thoughts. So they felt everything that I did, even pain and stuff? They said they wanted to have an authentic experience. However, because of the more transient connection, they were able to come and go as they pleased. They weren't trapped in a simulation or anything of the sort. In fact, they sometimes hop off to ask me a few questions as the game progressed. Oh, so you weren't watching me in the same way then? No, I was merely watching a screen with low resolution video and audio. Sam was also reporting in periodically. Okay, sure. Still, why was the sponsor allowed to speak to me? What possible reason could there have been for that? We chiefly wanted to make sure that we could prove that the simulation was happening in real time. By giving the sponsor some small measure of influence over you, we helped convince our guests that this game was happening in real time to real people. No script, no actors. Furthermore, our sponsor simply wanted to be able to interact with you in some way. They're quite fond of that sort of thing. Their request left me wary, so I tried to set it up in such a way that you only hear them on a subconscious level. Obviously, though, you were actively aware that they were trying to communicate with you. If I had to guess, this is likely because you began to desync from corners. Ah, well, that whole thing messed me up pretty bad, so I hope it was worth it. I apologize. I should have tried to find another way to satisfy our guest, but it was tight on time. We had an aggressive deadline to meet, even if it was self-imposed. Self-imposed? That's practically the same thing as having no deadline at all. The reality is that we couldn't spend forever on it. This project was very important to me, but even I didn't want to spend my entire life working on something that may never take off. And there's only so long I could keep spinning my wheels before Tiana got bored and left. It was never going to be perfect, it just needed to work. The hope was that we could get some more funding and expand its development. Corners really could not have come about in any other way. It was exit corners or nothing at all. I think nothing at all might have been just fine. No need to remind me. What other questions do you have? So, I'm a little afraid to ask, but what happened to Ether? Ether, as you know her, no longer exists. Her source code is still intact, but that instance of her has been erased from the system's memory. Then again, as long as she still exists in your memory, it may not be impossible to recover her in some fashion. That's not what that's not why I was asking. I was mostly just curious, and I know it's a little silly, but I wanted to make sure that she wasn't, suffering or anything. I see. Well, it's a good thing you don't want to meet her, because I no longer have access to corners. Oh, you've already given it to the sponsor? Yes, at least the most important bits. The rest, including the documentation and physical equipment to go along with it, are to be delivered within the next few weeks. I'll be very busy. And what about after all that? What will you do when this is all over? Well, first I was going to return the money I stole from the university, with interest. I've been paid back many times over thanks to our sponsor. Following that, I was going to turn myself into the police. Good. What? For real? I won't be telling them about corners. That'd be hard to prove. Anyway, but I'll admit to forging an identity, embezzling funds, and murdering my mother. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I don't think you should. I need to take responsibility for my actions. Also, Sean and Tiana. That's exactly it, though. You have a responsibility to make up for the harm that you've done. And I don't think you could do a very good job of that from prison. You're clearly capable of achieving amazing things if you put your mind to it. You've got the brains and you've got the resources. Put them to good use. That's what your mother was trying to tell you. Not to throw yourself in a hole, but to lift others out of theirs. Frankly, just the easy way out. That's practically giving up. How pithy. I'll need to give this a bit more thought then. Good. Man, every time he closes his eyes, I worry that he's about to topple over. Hey, Nolan, are you okay? Sorry, I'm tired is all. Maybe we should stop here for now. You look like you need some rest. I have many loose ends to tie up before I can even think about resting. Still, you're right. I don't know if I can afford to continue this for much longer. Before you leave, though, I'd like to end things on a positive note. How so? I want to ensure you understand that I'm committed to your safety and well-being. Firstly, while I may not have been able to answer all of your questions in this short period of time, I don't want you to leave you waiting for more answers. As such, I'd like you to take this. He's sending me something from off of his desk. Wait, is that a thumb drive? This portable drive contains a repository of Corner's development documentation, notes on the game, and chat logs between Sean, Tiana, and myself. I'm hoping whatever additional answers you seek can be found within. Thanks, I'll have a look. Secondly, I will see to it that the remainder of your undergrad degree is paid for, and therapy should you need it. Expect details shortly. Yes, he does need therapy. Wait, what? I figured the least I could do was to help you finish your English degree. Huh, go figure. Is something the matter? I know I shouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth, but I was actually thinking about switching programs. English is fine and all, and I'll always love my books, but I never truly felt like I was born to be a writer or a teacher, you know? I take it you found a new calling? Yeah, I'm thinking of becoming a detective. Go figure. That'll be no problem at all. I can pull some strings for you. I'll appreciate it. Oh, and Nolan? Get some sleep. Only after stepping back into the hallway do I realize how bright Nolan's office was. It's only been a few days, but I guess my body was craving sunlight. As much as I want to head outside right away, I've got one more stop to make. I head back to the room of the pods. Welcome back. Hey, sorry for taking so long. It's all good. I went out for a smoke partway through. Besides, I took pretty long myself. Thanks for agreeing to wait for me. Well, I did want to go over what Nolan told us. It's not sitting right with me that he split us up like that, you know? Yeah, want to talk about it over some food? I haven't eaten in who knows how long. Sounds like a plan. I'm fucking starving. Yay, yeah, difference, yeah. Let's get out of here. We climb the stairs and head down the hallway. I'm glad we caught the sun before it vanished over the horizon. The outside air is refreshing too, if a little cold. What are you going to do when this is all over? I don't know. I'm staying in school for sure, but I'm thinking about switching programs. Nolan offered to pay for the rest of my schooling. Same here, actually. Huh? Didn't you drop out? I did, but he said he could help me fast track a degree for free, or maybe do it part time. You going to take him up on that? You going to take him up on that offer? I don't know, man. It's dirty money. Does that not bother you? It does, but I don't know. For all we've been through, I think we've earned it. Maybe. I don't like that those guys are getting off scot free, but I guess there's nothing I can do about that. I wouldn't say no one's getting off scot free. I know. What bothers me is that he gets to, and as far as I know, Diana gets to keep her squeaky clean reputation. I wish I could get back at them, you know? You're not serious, are you? I never act on it, but the urge is there. It's so hard to sit still and not do anything. I'm worried I'm going to be angry about this forever. Sure, you can mope about this for the rest of your life. Or you could live. Don't worry about other people, just live for yourself. Live your best life. That's the biggest fuck you could give to them. My best life, huh? I think my best life involves a big bowl of ramen. You know what? I can get behind that. Yeah, okay, that was exit corners. Yeah, I think we're actually. Wait, questions and answers? Oh, okay, so just brings me to the Reddit page. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. Like this is exit corners. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good resolution to everything. Yeah, so we did answer what 7379 was about, so we can get that out of the way. And we did answer the part about the purpose of the Gemini. It was, yeah, the contact is a real person. That wasn't important. There was no extra contestant. And the purpose of the Gemini was explained as well, so that we can get that out of the way. Yeah, the interested party was the investor, and yeah, the metagame is like the fact that this is all a simulation, so we can pretty much get rid of that. Yeah, he had a problem with his family, so that's why Sean was chosen. We got all that covered up, and yeah, if it was an AI, oh my god, AI, her initials. Wow, okay, yeah, that was a huge hint. Yeah, I can't believe I didn't catch that. Yeah, so that's yeah. I guess I should probably just like yeah. And her contact is apparently Sean. So Sean is her dad, cause so yeah, there we go. And the whole like explosive things was not relevant at all. Then I guess the colors didn't really matter on like the whole plaque thing. So yeah, it turns out yeah, Beth was right. It was a personal attachment because for the investor, because it was where the original game took place all those years ago. There was no accomplice besides Tiana and Sean. And yeah, Beth is right. It was not an underground because they were literally in a simulation. And yeah, it was really tailored to each person. And yeah, this was in fact they were in Belbridge University the whole time. Let's see. Yup. Yup. Yeah, I guess that wasn't important. And the screen only turning on doesn't really matter because you're in the simulation all along. And yeah, he has his arm back, so that's great. Yeah, so Earl is actually Nolan. His wife is called Marianne, and then Liza is your daughter. and that's how she lost her sight from the yeah. And he was communicating because this was a simulation, so we got that figured out. And her envelope had we got that out. She died because Sam was scared. Hmm, yeah, I think that makes sense because yeah, Tiana probably ordered stuff to happen. So yeah, there we go. Uh, yeah, he indeed was embezzling money and funds. Uh, so the abduction was not random as Ray suggested, but it was targeted. So Eva was right. And commonality, yeah, there was a commonality. It was pretty much connected to all three members of the project. Yeah, it was pretty much yeah, not really important why if it was funded or not, but yeah, investing is a huge part of this. Motive, non-entertainment or experiment. I mean, it was an experiment. It was a demo, so yeah, it was a demo, so it was really important. Something to gain from for the investors. There were no hidden cameras. They were just, and I guess Scent really did love ink. So vomiting blood is a result of rejecting reality, rejecting the simulation, and mm, Eva was the exception because I mean, she's an AI, so she doesn't really need to reject it. Sean, yeah, he was the designer of the game. Let's see. Doesn't really matter that she kidnaps Eva. It was for Ink's corner. I guess the real password wasn't really important. It was something specific to her, I guess. Yeah, yeah. The whole father thing is kind of gross, to be honest. And yeah, it is in fact a simulation with everything that we saw. And yeah, the blue corner was Ink's corner. So yeah, I think that was it. Like I wish we got to meet Liza after we got out of the whole simulation. But yeah, like I'm still kind of sad that Beth died. But yeah, it was a really good game. Yeah, I think I really loved the whole like before Sean and Tiana got dropped in. I really loved everything up before that. Like when they went in, they just kind of felt I don't know extra and like really not super important. But like it turns out they were super important. But I don't know. I just never really liked their characters. Like they're not meant to be liked since they were the antagonists all along. But like yeah, they were not very likable characters. And yeah, it really sucks for Ink just to have like Sean be the reason he was in there. Like Sean is a terrible friend. Like I'm glad Ray and like Ink are friends now. That's like yeah, I think that's amazing. And yeah, speaking of the puzzles, like, some of them were really hard. Like it took me a while to figure them out. I had to like cut out parts and like edit really like huge amounts of time that I spent on those. But yeah, this was a great game and please hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed this whole playthrough. And I will see you guys on whatever game I'm planning to do next. See ya.